Córdoba y represento al departamento de Lima. Mis medidas son 2.202 casos por feminicidio reportados en los últimos 9 años en mi país.
Coastal areas from north to central Peru are in state of emergency. Dozens of landslides have buried homes. Floods have washed away villages. Thousands of people have been left homeless. It is the rainy season here, but the deluge is heavier than usual. Climate experts say the ocean's temperature in the north coast is at least 1 degree warmer. They blame that on a phenomenon called El Niño, and it could spell more rain and mudslides.
Mi nombre es María Álvarez. Soy urarina y madre de una hija, Camila. Me obligaron a casarme con mi esposo, Pedro, cuando tenía 19 años y no había tenido educación formal. Mi hija y yo dependemos de mi marido para sobrevivir, pero ahora estamos sufriendo. Antes del ciclón, llevábamos una vida pacífica y contábamos con el apoyo de mi marido, propietario de una pequeña empresa. Cuando pasó el ciclón nos quedamos sin nada. Nuestra casa se derrumbó y también nuestra familia. El negocio de Pedro fue completamente arrasado por el ciclón y él no ganaba dinero. Una semana después, Pedro estaba frustrado porque todo el trabajo que había puesto en su negocio se había desperdiciado. Se enojó mucho. Comenzó con pequeñas cosas, voces alzadas, destruyendo los pocos objetos que nos quedaban. En cuestión de días se volvió cada vez más violento. Lo que comenzó como una simple bofetada en el transcurso de una semana se convirtió en palizas completas y esto solo empeoró cuando me forzó. En tan solo unas semanas, mi hija y yo nos quedamos sin hogar, con el corazón roto y heridos. No pude hacerlo más. No pude quedarme. La brutal violencia de la tormenta había entrado en nuestras vidas y llegó para quedarse. Aunque había tomado la decisión de escapar, la realidad no era tan simple. El ciclón no solo había destruido nuestra casa, sino también gran parte de la infraestructura que nos rodeaba. El camino que alguna vez habría usado para escapar no era accesible. Las inundaciones dañaron las líneas eléctricas, por lo que no pudimos pedir ayuda. Los servicios de emergencia tenían tantas cosas con las que lidiar que no podía recurrir a ellos. Sabía que los refugios estaban llenos, con capacidad para todos los que no tenían a dónde acudir después del ciclón. Estábamos completamente aislados. La comunidad que nos rodeaba ya tenía mucho con que lidiar, en comparación, mis luchas parecían pequeñas. Un día fui al refugio de recursos para recoger comida mientras tenía un ojo morado, la gente me miraba, me sentía avergonzado pero nadie preguntó al respecto. No tengo educación y estaba casado a los 19 años, así que no tengo experiencia laboral, no podría sobrevivir solo. Necesitaba ayuda, pero no tenía a quién acudir. Asustada y sola, me llevé a mi hija a un campo de desplazados. El refugio es seguro y estamos rodeadas de muchas mujeres y niñas que han pasado por experiencias similares. Ya no me siento sola y estoy muy agradecida de estar aquí. Recibimos kits de higiene, comida y agua, y asesoramiento sobre traumas. Realmente espero que con el tiempo pueda mudarme a casa con mi madre y mi familia al otro lado del país. Ese es mi objetivo a largo plazo. Por ahora, me alegro de que estemos a salvo.
The intersectionality of being an indigenous Peruvian young woman involves a complex interplay of cultural, gender, and socio-economic factors. It can influence experiences related to identity, discrimination, and access to resources. Maria has grown up in a poor area of Peru where she had no access to formal education and was told early on in life that she would marry and become a mother. This meant that Maria's purpose in life was decided for her. She had no options for what her future would entail. She is only 25 years old and has one young daughter who she is solely responsible for looking after. This creates a further barrier for trying to earn money, as she has nobody to look after her daughter if she was to work all day. Additionally, indigenous communities in Peru are discriminated against, and the Peruvian state has been systematically oppressing them in the aims of taking their land. For example, where Maria comes from in the Puno region, 17 people were killed on the 9th of January 2023 in the context of police aggression. Maria does not even feel safe now that she is away from Pedro. Even her own government is attacking her. Indigenous communities represent some of the poorest communities in Peru. The women are far more likely to be victims of violence from their husbands, and they have little to no way of escaping. Climate change has only fostered this dependence and thus prevents Indigenous women from obtaining a sense of recognition. Now let's take a look at the positionality. Maria's identity is complex. She is a woman, an Indigenous Peruvian, comes from a low socio-economic background, is now a single mother and is currently displaced. She is an Indigenous Peruvian coming from the group Urarina, who lived in some of the most remote areas of the Amazon rainforest. These indigenous groups often live far away from society and uphold traditional cultural practices and traditions. Maria was forced to marry young and has no formal education, which has meant her life has been decided for her. The interplay between her identities has meant that Maria has been marginalized and suffered at the hands of the people who are supposed to protect her. Her life experiences are something we will never be able to understand. Therefore, our positionality on the topic is quite limited. The issue of climate change has impacted us, but primarily by technology and second-hand sources. Like in the case of our topic, we see a situation from an outsider's point of view. We rely on articles and news outlets to communicate these issues to us. And although we are highly empathetic and shocked by these disasters, we are not experiencing them in real time like those directly impacted. We can only imagine the struggle of those affected by these situations. As students in London, we are fortunate enough that we have not experienced such extreme impacts of climate change. However, because of the knowledge we have gained as students of the Global Humanitarian Studies program, we are more aware of these situations than our fellow students in other programs. Gender-based violence is not something we have experienced in an extreme way that these women in Peru have. However, there are 3 women in our group and we have been subjected to more minor forms of harassment due to our gender. Even while living in London, most of us have been catcalled or felt uncomfortable walking in a dark street alone at night. Although these situations seem insignificant in comparison to femicide present in Peru, the fear of being targeted as a woman stays the same. So to answer the question, do my beliefs make me predisposed to reason that our work points towards a particular conclusion? The answer is yes, and so we have tried to not let this affect the final conclusion of our video.